Well, hello and welcome to today's status chat. Today's title is Crude Oil Prices and a Look at the Local Market. This is episode 278, 10/23/25. Now, as always, we can look at that status chat and any other that came before it by hitting that QR code, and I'll take you to the YouTube page where you can find the playlist with all of these status chats in it. All right, what we got going on today? Well, like I said, I want to talk a little bit about crude oil prices. We've had some sideways talking points, and you know what? As long as crude oil prices don't affect beeswax, so I can calm the fray of the beard, we're in good shape. We're just a bit of a frazzle with excitement. So we've been hearing from one side, oh, there's some terrible things going with oil. The oil market is awful. And we say, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. So what do you say we look at crude oil prices brought to us from Trading Economics? Of course, we've got a nice, lovely commercial here in the middle for some reason. Let's slide on up, and we'll hit the summary as best I can stumble tongue over it. WTI, West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures jumped more than 5% to above $61 per barrel on Thursday, reaching a 2-week high following a U.S. announcement of sanctions on key Russian oil companies. The U.S. had banned state-owned giants Rosneft PJSC and Lukoil PJSC in a move aimed at increasing pressure on the Kremlin over Moscow's lack of commitment to peace in Ukraine. Rosneft, led by Putin ally Igor Sechin, and Lukoil together account for nearly half of Russia's oil exports, about 2.2 million barrels per day, with oil and gas revenues making up roughly a quarter of the federal budget. After sanctions, Trump said he would press major buyers planning to discuss Russian oil imports with Chinese President Xi Jinping next week, following his reiteration that India would reduce its purchases. EU member states have approved their 19th sanction package against Russia, including a ban on Russia LNG imports. All that good old liquid natural gas. And it's getting about that time of year. We had a couple of 48s this week, 40-somethings this week. This is tough on these old bones. Anyway, about time to order some of my own LNG, liquid natural gas, except mine is bottled. So I guess I've got LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. You know that LPG is heavier than air and sinks, and LNG is, methane. It goes up in the air and it's lighter. But, bottled gas is made from natural gas. It's a little more. All right. Well, anyway, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but let's look at one other thing while we're looking at it. We'll go back over, and I want to look at the market, local market, see what we got going on. We got Rutherford. We have all these. Remember, this is my website, and you can drop me a little line down here. Oh, I would love to hear from you if you would just tell me. Let's just keep this short. Let's look at the entire Rutherford County and see what we've got. This is, of course, the mobile-friendly layout. Average sales, well, it looks like we're closing pretty well much. Maybe we got a little bit if you really want to be super pessimistic right there. But it looks pretty flat, not really taking a big nosedive. What about days on market? Average and median. Well, they look pretty well much about the same. Maybe a little bit falling off. Maybe we're getting a little bit quicker on the market because we did have a few. Well, we had one change in the Fed rate. We've had several ups and downs in the mortgage rates. We're going to see some more, I think, in this next Fed meeting, but that's a show for a different day. Total showings is climbing up, and look at the cyclic nature of that. Hey, and we're peak. Our peak is right on schedule, looks like. Active inventory is up a little bit, but it doesn't look so scary. We're hearing a lot of people say, oh, we've got so much inventory. Well, we've got active inventory is the blue. Slide it on down. What else do we have? Well, we're going to have to step on it and see what it says. All right. Under contracts are the reds. The greens are the total inventory. So it still doesn't look too terribly bad. Price ratios. Well, we would like it on this side if we could get it, but it's not. But it hasn't been that way since March of 22, and that's been more than a moon ago. New listings look like they're pretty cyclical. Month of supply also looking good. So I guess the next thing we have to do is look at the numbers. And of course, we'll start with what we had last week, 10/16 of 25. We had 29,813 in our system available, and we went down a little bit by 4,209 in the under contracts. The under contract ratio, a simple ratio between those two, and even though they diverged, we still stayed at 14%. What about this week? Well, this week we have 1023 of 25, 29,975. That's available. That's going up, and as you can see, it's just not that much more than we had before. 100 plus a little bit. 4,277 right there in the under contracts. That's up also, but that's only up about 70 some points, 60 some odd points under contract, and it wasn't enough to bump the needle off of that 14 on that integer ratio. So we appreciate you watching. We want to keep them short for you when we can, if there's nothing that really needs to be expanded on, except for the threat to perhaps beeswax, getting that high weather out there. Maybe we'll get some rain coming. I don't know. I have to check the weather site. All right. Well, that's it. Thank you.